Well, fighting between ISIL terrorists and a Palestinian brigade continues for a fourth day inside Yarmouk refugee camp in the Syrian capital. Now, the violence has forced civilians caught in fighting to flee the camp. A Palestinian official says about half of the refugee camp has fallen into terrorist hands after days of heavy clashes. A UK-based monitoring group, however, says 90% of the camp has been seized by ISIL and the al-Qaeda-linked al-Nusra Front terrorists. According to the group, the terrorists have launched a counter-offensive to push the Palestinian brigade out of the camp. Terrorists stormed Yarmouk on Wednesday and were expelled on Thursday before re-entering the camp on Friday. According to the UN, about 18,000 civilians, including many children, reside inside of Yarmouk camp, located on the southern edge of Damascus. Let's cross over to Damascus, joined by Press TV's correspondent, Allah Ibrahim. Allah, can you fill us in on the latest situation in Yarmouk camp?
Well, it seems at this point that the al-Qaeda affiliates in Syria, mainly al-Nusra Front, in addition to fighters from the ISIL, are trying to make more gains in the Yarmouk camp, as they have managed to push back other insurgent factions out of the camp. Yesterday, we witnessed 50 fighters from Beit al-Maqdis, one of the insurgent factions that was operating inside the camp, turning themselves into the Syrian government and the National Defense Forces operating in that area after they failed to hold on to their positions, and after ISIL managed to push them out of the camp. The main reason behind the recent incursion by ISIL into the camp was the fact that several insurgent factions was looking to sign an agreement with the Syrian government to turn themselves into the Syrian government and surrender their weapons, and ISIL wanted to stop that in coordination with al-Nusra Front, the branch of al-Qaeda in Syria. The situation there is very difficult. The Syrian army, along with the forces loyal to it, like the Palestinian Popular Front to Liberate Palestine and other Palestinian factions, in addition to the National Defense Forces, are trying to benefit from the ongoing fighting between ISIL and other insurgent factions, hoping to make some gains inside the camp. And they managed to take several blocks from the control of insurgents in the past few hours. But it seems that ISIL has brought in more reinforcement from the nearby Hajar al-Aswad district and is going to resume its attacks on the remaining parts of Yarmouk camp sometime today.
And Allah, is it true that basically ISIL does not let civilians leave the refugee camp? Tell me the overall situation for the civilians there.
Yes, the situation for the civilians was very complicated even before the attack of ISIL. We in Press TV have reported many times on bi-monthly aid distribution to refugees inside the camp who are living under the control of various foreign-backed insurgents factions operating inside the camp. But obviously, after the fact that there is now ongoing clashes between al-Nusra Front and ISIL on one side and Beit al-Maqdis and other radical insurgent factions on the other side is making life much more difficult for the civilian population inside the camp. Most of the civilian population were prevented to leave the camp even before ISIL moved in. But now, with the ongoing fighting, with the presence of a much radical force like ISIL, more people are looking to leave the camp, but the current situation is preventing them from leaving the camp, bearing in mind that the basic services inside the camp has been down for over a year now, and we're speaking about electricity and running water and fresh water supplies. Most of these basic facilities have been out of order at least for the past year, since the camp in general has been under the control of the insurgents since December 2012 up till now.
Thank you so much for that update out of Damascus. Press TV's very own Allah Ibrahim reporting.